Good evening, friends, and welcome to another late night edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. And as you guys can see, we got a special friend visiting us here tonight. Attorney Melanie Little was kind enough to come on in with us. We are going to talk about all things Karen Reid and Trooper Proctor. We had a great Michael Proctor. Thank you. Trooper, and it's right in front of me here. This is what live shows all about. Trooper Michael Proctor today suspended without pay, and rightfully so. I mean, Ed and I, we've been talking about this on and off since he testified, since we saw his face in court and the vile, disgusting things that he said. But before we get into it, I want to say a special thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all of the folks who positively engage in this community. You guys are what makes it great. And you know, a lot of our subscribers are intertwined into Melanie's subscribers base. So we want to thank everybody that's watching, that's supporting both of these channels here. You guys are really awesome. Ed, how you doing? How was your 4th of July? What's going on with you? You're back on U.S. soil finally, and you've been home for a little bit. What's going on, and what's your take on this today?
Well, 4th of July was great.
And now we're back at it. So today we were expecting Trooper Michael Proctor, the decision on his status, right? He got immediately after the hung jury was announced, like I think an hour or two later, Massachusetts State Police said that they were reassigning him. And we know from police lingo what that meant. And like people were like a little confused in the beginning, Melanie, Ed, people were like, oh, he's fired. Yeah. You know, everybody was celebrating. I kind of knew, you know, just from being around the job so long that he was just taken out of his elite, cushy position. And he was taken out of an elite, cushy position in my eyes. And I think Ed and Melanie, you guys can agree with me. That should have been done earlier, but I think in the betterment of the trial and for this thing to go on, they might have held back, but I don't know. The things that he said towards the defendant, Karen Reid, were just inexcusable. It is horrific when you talk about wishing someone to kill themselves and tell them to commit suicide. Like, these things, and that is just one of the things. He said so many different things. He used the C word. He talked about her condition, and she has a no ass, like this whole vile conversation. And I was happy that he was forced to read it back, you know, with the defense. You know, Mr. Jackson, he put him in a corner. He had him. He slam dunked him. And Melanie, I know you have covered this from gavel to gavel. You're on the air every day covering this trial.
Yeah.
We're outraged. And you know
Except for the one day I went to the trial. So actually I went to the trial one day. That was the only day I didn't do it. But yeah, it's been a long 10 weeks.
Talk about how what you felt, how you felt about this Trooper Michael Proctor. This guy, again, I could say it on my channel. I know you don't like to curse. This guy is a scumbag.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is. You know, let's just talk about like the lack of an investigation for a dead brother in blue. Like I just can't get past that. There was no investigation, not to mention, I mean, you can't even say a proper investigation because there was little to no investigation. The guy had conflicts of interest all over the place. He was investigating his friends. He had close ties to the homeowner. You know, he tried to strong arm the ME into changing her manner of death on the death certificate. I mean, it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. The vile text messages are really almost the least of it, you know?
Yeah.
And those were only found through the FBI because the FBI got his personal cell phone records. So a lot of people defend that, saying, well, those are his personal cell phone records. They never should have even had access to them. But listen, the guy was texting his supervisor, Buchanan, and a couple of other troopers about how he's searching Karen Reid's phone for nudes. I mean, it's hard to get past. As a woman, as a lawyer, as a mother, as I'm sure for you, as law enforcement, that's kind of hard to get by. But you know,
I keep telling these rookie cops these days, you know, anything can be evidence. Your social media footprint, your text messages, your emails. You're discussing active cases. Guess what? That's evidence.
This guy's dumb as a stump if he thought that he could get away with just texting with his private cell phone to his supervisors, no less. And that's another point that I wanted to bring up here is that his sergeants and his first line supervisors and going right up the ladder to the big bosses who run that unit, they all should be held accountable because he was texting them and they were liking some of the things that he was texting them. Like they were putting a like onto the comment And like for me, I felt like, you know, these guys, they're responsible for the members of their squad. And Trooper Proctor was a member of that elite DA prosecutor squad. Whoever his boss was, his immediate boss, and then the shit runs downhill, flows downhill with the police departments. So I think everybody should be at least reprimanded here, because nobody corrected him. Nobody tried to tell him, hey, yo, you're out of line. You know,
well, how pervasive is this in the Mass State Police?
Yeah,
I mean, this can't be just one incident of this, because, as you said, there were many line supervisors going up in rank that were part of these messages, and nobody did anything to stop it.
Melanie, I see you're ready to chime in.
It's true. Listen, they've had a lot of scandals lately. The Massachusetts State Police, during the pendency of this case, before the trial started, Josh Levy, who's the acting U.S. attorney in the state of Massachusetts, indicted a bunch of other Massachusetts state troopers. They were trading commercial driver's licenses to guys in exchange for things like driveways, plunge pools, mailboxes. Like there have been a lot of overtime scandals. Like this is not the first scandal to hit the MSP, but you know, and the FBI, I think, is looking into all this stuff. This could have been collateral damage to something else that they were investigating, or a collateral issue. We really don't know, but
yeah,
they're no strangers to the scandal.
I think you're 100% right. You know, the FBI doesn't tip his hand like this, or doesn't get involved normally in a state or local homicide trial. Okay?
Homicide of a police officer. Right.
Yeah.
You know, some of the things that Trooper Proctor said in text messaging to his sister and others outside of the law enforcement realm was disturbing as well. And, you know, he said, oh, yeah, I speak to my sister every day. But now you're talking to your sister about an investigation that you're the lead on. And again, that to me, have I talked to my wife? Have I talked to my sister about cases, but not the intricate details of the case? Not that, hey, this one's going to fry. And she, you know, the wording and the things that came out at trial, that's the things that I homed in on. And I said, wait a minute, something's not right here. And then I looked at his actions and what was done in this investigation. And that was troubling as well. I want to play this little piece because Kristen will crucify me if I don't play it, because she took time to put this together. So this is a little bit of some of the news clips from today as the reports came out. Melanie was live today covering this case, covering the latest news, right? But she was unaware that Trooper Proctor was suspended without pay, and her chat, which are great. Her chat's great. Everyone's watching and taking notes. But I love that you and your guest said, we're going to wait until we can actually verify this. You saw it, you verified it. So this was the breaking news that happened while you were covering breaking news. So let's take a look at this. Thank you, Kristen, for putting this together.
Trooper Michael Proctor, we've all heard his name. He's been in the news. He's already the subject of an internal investigation after sending vulgar and demeaning text messages about Karen Reid to his family, his friends, and fellow troopers. And last week, he was relieved of his duties.
Well, it should be noted that Trooper Michael Proctor has said his words were, quote, unprofessional and regrettable, but says they had no bearing on the integrity of the investigation. Still, as he sat in front of the courtroom reading these text messages aloud, you can imagine how for some it was hard to hear, referring to Karen Reid as a whack job. And in fact, in one of those texts to his sister, Proctor said, quote, hopefully she kills herself.
I think I've been very clear, and I want to remain very clear. Misconduct in any way, shape, or form of the Massachusetts State Police will not be tolerated. I think I've said that I condemn those comments in the strongest terms possible. They are not reflective of the Massachusetts State Police. That's not where we want to be as an organization.
Well, after being relieved of his duties last week, Proctor was transferred from the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office to Mass State Police's Troop H. He is currently getting paid, but is not actively working. His car, gun, and gear have been taken away, which is standard practice. But after today,
lead investigator in the Karen Reid case is now suspended without pay. State Police held a duty status hearing for Trooper Michael Proctor today, and the board recommended suspending him. The State Police colonel immediately issued that suspension. There's now an internal affairs investigation into Proctor, which will help determine his future and whether he will ever return to the job.
Trooper Michael Proctor, the lead investigator in the Karen Reid case, has been suspended from the Massachusetts State Police without the cop who investigated it. We want to begin with our NBC 10's Eli Rosenberg. He's joining us live in South Boston with more on Trooper Proctor's punishment. Eli.
Yeah, there was a hearing earlier today, a virtual hearing. We are told Michael Proctor faced one of 4 possible outcomes. He is now facing the most severe, suspended without pay, happening right now here in South Boston. You can see a very vocal, it has gotten a little smaller in the last couple hours, but a very vocal group that has gathered here outside the State Police barracks in South Boston in support of Karen Reid. They are also demanding more police accountability. Today, the state police moved to suspend without pay the lead investigator in the Karen Reid murder investigation.
I don't like they say angry. That's just not my vocabulary, so I use more.
Melanie, I loved this clip. Well, I looked at it quick, but that sign. I heard you say that. I got to put you on because just.
Well, that is something that David Unetti said during one of the hearings. We are outraged. And so I've adopted that. I say it all the time. I see some people in the chat who were actually there today. Scott McGinnis is in the chat. A lot of people who are outside this walk, this standout that they did at Proctor's hearing. So they're here. They're in the chat.
So, these folks are out there and they are rightfully so out there. And we are outraged. Us. All the good law enforcement professionals, and I don't care where you stand in your political realm and so forth. This has nothing to do with that. This has all to do with doing the right thing. And all good cops hate bad cops. And I said that in my short little video I did today. And Ed, you and I both had in-depth discussions, not just on this case, but on many other cases where we've called out bad cops. And there's no room for this. There's no room for this in the Massachusetts State Police. There's no room for this in any police department.
But it's worse than that, Ron. This goes beyond Proctor.
Yeah.
The higher-ups knew this. It's like Abu Ghraib. The only people that got punished in Abu Ghraib were the low-ranking, military personnel, but their supervisors didn't get punished.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened to failure to supervise? What happened to, everybody that was in that text change that was a supervisor that was putting emojis for liking and all these other things? They all need to be disciplined too.
Yeah. And Melanie brought up a good point to me on my way home. I talked to her on the phone in my car ride home. Trooper Proctor is the lead on the Brian Walsh case, right?
Yep. It's a problem. That's why I think they didn't discipline him earlier, because they need him on Walsh. But
yeah, Ed, that case. We cover that in depth. He cut his wife up and deposited her in different locations. Trooper Proctor's on that case. What the hell's going to happen to that case? That's what I worry about.
It's not just that case. Now, defense attorneys whose cases have already been adjudicated, they're going to go in there and they're going to request all this digital forensics done on his computers, his phones. They're going to want social media. They're going to look at all of this stuff. All right. Because, once you're tainted like this is what happens. All those old cases get relooked at and opened up to see if there's now a crack that can exploit to maybe overturn a conviction.
Yeah. Beth D says on the screen, these two troopers, Buchanan and Tully, they need to be disciplined too. Absolutely. All of, and I don't like to use this term, but they need to drain the swamp in the Massachusetts State Police, because the swamp is filthy. And for these folks to exchange text messages back and forth jokingly as it pertains to a defendant's life, this is the difference between life and somebody's freedom. And you're early on and within 16 hours already drawing your conclusions. Ed, I want to go to you for a second, because you said something to me early on when I first met you. And, for those of you who don't know the backstory with Ed and I, Timmy Acosta, who worked with Ed's wife, recommended he was a viewer of mine. Timmy Acosta, a retired first grade detective, great guy, right? Worked in sex crimes or in special victims or one of the squads with Ed's wife, Margaret. He said, Ron, you got to get Eddie Wallace on the show, and you got to get Ed on the show. And when I first got Ed on the show, he talked to me about this. He talked to me about narratives from homicide detectives coming onto the scenes of crime scenes that he's processed 2,500 crime scenes in his career or more. And he said to me right from the get-go, Melanie, I would never let a homicide detective or any detectives dictate to me what I'm supposed to be looking for. Right, Ed? I'll let you expand on that.
Yeah,
that's correct. When it comes to our protocol, your supervisory rank or your lead detective status in the squad or special victims homicide doesn't dictate to me, the crime scene investigator. If I'm assigned to lead as the crime scene investigator, I'm in charge of the crime scene once I get on scene, and I will determine what items of evidence will be collected and won't be collected. I will not be swayed by some hypothesis by a detective or a supervisor from an investigative squad comes up with a hypothesis and tries to tell me to collect evidence that only fits the hypothesis.
And that's exactly what happened here is, in my opinion, correct?
That's correct. Well, I think it goes beyond that. I think we're into the criminal here. Okay. It may not be criminal to one detective telling a crime scene investigator, because I've seen that done in many jurisdictions, and it's not per se criminal. It's wrong and it shouldn't be done. We should let the true forensic professionals read the crime scene and let the crime scene dictate what's probative, what should be collected and what shouldn't be collected. Okay. But are we still on?
Yeah, of course we are.
I see faces are frozen.
Does the crime scene speak to you, Ed, though? That's what I want to know.
Ron, are we there?
Yeah, we're here. Ed,
we can hear you.
Ed might have froze up.
Maybe he did.
So,
Ed, can you hear us?
All right.
Yeah.
Can you hear us now?
I'm gonna remove him, and I know he's gonna know to go out and come back in. But Melanie, again, we're hearing this. I heard this from Ed in 2021 when I first met him. Nobody dictates to crime scene investigators what the narrative is before you get all the evidence together. And in this case, we heard it.
I called it a scavenger hunt. I call it a scavenger hunt. They told the CERT team when they got there at 6 p.m. Here's what we need. We need a cup. We need some taillight. We're looking for some taillight. We're looking for a sneaker. Ready, go. It was like a scavenger hunt, Ed. That's what you're referring to. What they told them. We need some taillight. We need some sneaker. We need a sneaker. And then that was it.
I mean, but that's just a search team. They're not crime scene investigators, right? Right.
They never had them.
They never had a crime scene team out there. Okay. So I don't understand any of that. Okay. But as the crime scene, as a forensic professional with all kinds of training and certifications, I'm not going to let some detective that doesn't have my training and experience try to tell me what to collect. It doesn't work that way.
They're not supposed to view.
No, they're not. That's another thing. I have a supervisor, right? And they have supervisors. Now, can a supervisor suggest to me, or can a detective suggest to me something to collect? Yeah, I'll keep that in the back of my mind, but I make the final decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Not you. And first of all, I don't need you to tell me how to do my job. Okay. I know what's probative, what's not probative. I know what's a new artifact to a crime scene and what's an old weathered artifact that is not a part of what just happened. I know how to make these determinations. I'm not a freaking garbage man where I pick up everything and just throw shit up against the wall to see what sticks. Okay. That's not how forensics work.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
And I forgot how much I love you guys.
I love it when you explain. Ed does his splaining. I love it. Listen, the fact of the matter is the attorneys, the attorneys for Karen Reid, Mr. Jackson, David Unetti, and Miss Little, they did a bang up job because they did their due diligence. They looked at everything. And you know what? They could have looked at more, but so much was suppressed from them. And we talked about Trooper Proctor deciding not to take out the extractions of all parties in that house, not going into that home at 34 Fairview. I mean, how I'm going to bleep it. So how up is that? I know Melanie doesn't like the cursing words.
No, you can do it on your channel.
Bleeping in her ear more than the cursing words. But how screwed up is that, Ed, that they didn't even go into that house? They didn't look in the basement. They didn't look in the attic. They didn't look in all of the rooms. And guess what? That's not a thorough investigation. And you're talking about police officer John Okeefe.
They all knew each other. I mean, you talk about how Canton Police had to recuse themselves because of they were conflicted out, as Melanie likes to say. Okay, but yet, even though they were conflicted out, what does Proctor do? He still contacts them. He still uses them to help him with his investigation, to set up interviews, to do all these things that he wasn't supposed to do. They're supposed to be totally out of it. Now, does he admit his conflict of interest? No. He never admits to anybody that there, again, is this incestuous relationship in Canton with all of these cops and federal agents, Boston PD, Canton PD, and Mass State Police, all of these different things. Okay. Again, this case should have been taken over by another law enforcement agency at the direction of the Attorney General's office. Okay.
Uh-oh. Ed's
okay.
over.
And they could have got investigation.
He's back. All right, he's back.
I'm back.
We're gonna have to pay for a dedicated Wi-Fi directly into the router up there in New Jersey, where you are, down there in New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing is insane. And you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna just say this: I foresee Trooper Proctor being fired by the Massachusetts State Police because they want to take that stake off of their eye. They got a black eye and they got a stake on it right now. They're going to fire him to show good cause, but there needs to be a lot more done here. They need to look at Trooper Proctor criminally. And when internal affairs, Melanie, you and I talked about this on the car ride home, internal affairs, when they're involved, they're investigating crimes, criminal actions by police officers. Any internal affairs investigator will tell you that they don't just go and look at police officers for minor issues. When internal affairs is involved, it's usually a form of corruption or some type of serious violation within the department. Ed, what's going on there with the internet with you?
I don't know.
But you're back.
So I'm back, so I just refreshed. But let me just back up a little bit with this thing. The search team, right? So they, as Melanie said, they were told, look for this, right? Look for this, look for that, right? And so they're out there with their shovels and they're doing their best with their shovels, not the solo cup guys and the snow blower. I mean, and the leaf blower and the
Gallagher.
Yeah, none of those guys, right? But they're out there doing the best. And so they find some small particles, small pieces of the lens. But yet subsequent days later, Proctor's out there finding big chunks of lens from the taillight on one day, goes back out another day, finds another big piece of taillight, goes out another day, finds another big piece. No chain of custody, no photographs, no nothing associated with any of this stuff. This is all horseshit. Okay?
I'll say.
And somebody asked a question in the chat about if they do go back at Karen, can the defense team hire an expert to re-examine the lens, the broken lens parts? And 100%, absolutely. Microscopic analysis of the edges where the breaks occurred will be able to tell you the direction of force, okay? And so you could say whether the force was from outside the lens inward towards the housing, or somebody reached in to the lens and pulled the lens out and cracked it outward. Okay. And if they do find outward cracks, that's huge. Okay. Because it destroys their theory, which already the FBI's expert, in my opinion, already destroyed, but it destroys their opinion that it was from hitting John Okeefe.
Yeah. Police officer John Okeefe's family, as we know from listening to his brother Paul give an interview, they are they're on the side of the prosecution, and at least the brother and the mom. I don't know about the dad. I've heard different conflicting stories, but whatever the case may be, I find it very unfortunate that they are not looking at what's most important here. And what we're outlining here as investigators is a very important part of their brother's puzzle being solved. And for police officer John Okeefe, the fact of the matter of a guy like Trooper Proctor comes in there and the whole rest of the team, and they do what they do. And these Canton rinky-dink cops, Lieutenant Blank and Lieutenant Gallagher, and to mention a few, what they did with the leaf blower and the solo cups and the fuckery that went on there is enough to make you want to cry as a good police officer, rooting for justice for a fallen brother. I just can't see how anybody from our field can sit and look at this thing and say, yeah, Karen Reid's guilty. No. I mean, if you look at this through the proper lens and you pay attention to the details that matter most, you can't say that. If you do, then you're not looking at this thing in its entirety. We look at the totality of everything put together, and it just doesn't fucking add up. So, again, that's where we're at. And, tonight is a two-part. We're going to be talking again about Trooper Proctor, but we're also going to talk about what developed in the afternoon. What was that about?
Mm-hmm.
2 o'clock, Melanie, or was it earlier that broke?
Which the news that I did, the motion to dismiss based on the jurors that came out to the defense, that broke like this morning. So I think I found out about it like around 11 a.m. or so, and then we went live around 12:15.
Yeah, so I saw it midday. I wasn't sure when it broke, but I want to see Trooper Proctor. I want to see him be accountable for everything that he has done here. And if it involves criminal activity, I want to see him locked up. I want to see him dragged into court and processed if in fact there is proof that he in fact planted evidence and did the things that the defense is alleging he did. Ed, are we all right? What's going on?
Just think about that. But just think about that. They found all the small pieces. They found all the small pieces, right, in the midst of snow. And later on, those bigger pieces, they missed those bigger pieces somehow, and he found them days later.
Oh, 7 undocumented searches during 7 other undocumented searches in the weeks following. The evidence just revealed itself. And Yuri Buchanan told his guys, didn't want to call the CERT team back. They said, we'll come back when the snow melts if you need help. Yuri said, no, it's cool. So he tells all his guys, drive by 34 Fairview on your way to work and on your way home. And the evidence just started revealing itself.
Yeah.
And the 3 pieces that they found on the 29th after dark, after 20 more inches of snow fell that the Canton PD couldn't find with their leaf blower and solo cups, those 3 pieces didn't match the taillight. So when they reconstructed that taillight, the 3 pieces they found on the first day, my understanding is they didn't line up with the rest of the taillight, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And Haley says in the comments, and she's right, they magically found every piece of the taillight except for the piece that would have broken off when she backed into his car in the morning. I mean, the whole thing is.
Yeah. Let me go to some of these highlighted chats.
How did they get away with the warrantless seizure?
Your guess is good as mine. He calls for a tow on that car at 2:30 in the afternoon before they found any taillight at all.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And drives to like Dighton, which is like 40 minutes away. And they tow it back to the Canton PD Sallyport instead of one of the MSP barracks that was along the way. The whole thing is.
Yeah, no warrant. They just seized the car. Now, when the trooper or the officer pulls into the driveway of John Okeefe's house, and her car is parked there, the lens wasn't missing from what I could see from the dash cam.
The wellness check? Yeah, it was like 8 a.m. and it was hard to see. It was covered in snow, so you couldn't really see anything. We thought that was going to be some big smoking gun.
Right.
But they never closed the loop. There's so many things that the prosecution never closed the loop on.
Right. Yeah.
That it just added so much reasonable doubt.
And
if you're in the jury room, if you're in the jury
room
and you're saying to each other, well, it could have happened this way or it could have happened that way, or that's reasonable doubt. That's enough. You don't need any more than that.
Right. And the prosecutor, the Commonwealth, that was their job, to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And her team, her defense team, Mr. Jackson and Yannetti and Miss Little, they proved a ton of reasonable doubt. They put forth a ton of reasonable doubt for this jury, and they saw it and they heard it loud and clear. We're going to get into it in a minute, but now just hold your thoughts, guys. I just want to say thank you to these folks who highlighted chats. Mama She 13, she says, love attorney Melanie Little, of course.
I am not related to the defense attorney,
And
Elizabeth
you
Little.
did not
No
go
relation.
on a trip with Mr. Jackson.
I
Is
did
that
not
correct?
go to Cancun with Alan Jackson, but if I did, I'd be bragging about it. Like, really? Come on.
Oh yeah,
Silly.
you'd even have selfies.
No.
Thank you, Mark Safe from Lally's boardroom. Boredom. Plot twist. Proctor turns on the McDalberts.
You got to figure, why is this guy risking everything for these people? Why would he do that?
Why?
It makes no sense.
This sounds like a bunch of wannabe Sopranos.
Right. Yeah. Exactly right. B Crumbs, thank you for the $10. Exactly right. This is about our justice system, top to bottom. This can't and shouldn't happen in America. We have a constitution for a reason. Couldn't have said it any better, but it happens, and it's happening. And as Melanie said in the beginning of this thing, Karen Reid is you. Karen Reid is me. Karen Reid could be any one of us. Anybody. Could be Ed Wallace. If this happened to her, it could happen to any one of us. Melly, thank you. Melly, thank you for the $2. Amazing DutyRon and Ed. Exquisite Melanie.
I love Melly. I love Melly.
She's always around. I love her. I love the support. Vicky Thomas, a member for 3 months. Drain the Swamp, Massachusetts State Police. Reality Check is in the building, sends in the $2, and she says, does Massachusetts not have CSI, Ed?
No, they haven't.
They sucked on this case, whoever did it.
Well, they didn't come out. They didn't come out.
Yeah, well, they rinky-dink did it on their own, right? There was a combination of Canton PD, who's never processed the crime scene, as per Lieutenant Gallagher, in the snow.
No.
You know what this boils down to? Too much alcohol, off-duty cops with too much testosterone, and text from an off-duty cop or agent to John Okeefe's girlfriend. This is what this all comes down to. That interaction in the bar before they went to the house at the Alberts. Okay, at the end, that video speaks volumes about what was going on there. Okay?
Grappling.
Mm-hmm.
No, not the horse. That's the horse shit. At the end, when they're calling John Okeefe out to fight. Okay.
Mm-hmm. He like gives him the finger, and then the guy holds him back, and then he's like, "Come on outside." Yeah.
That ATF agent that goes to the military base and destroys his phone. Come on. And he got to go to jail too. That guy.
Evie, thank you for gifting 5 memberships, and thank you for always being here. Appreciate you. Lynn sends in a $10 super chat, and she says, great guests. I still do not understand how they can believe a car hit him at all. Look at where these injuries were. John Okeefe would have to have been a contortionist to be hit that way. Yeah. Just doesn't add up. Just doesn't add up. Muddy Paws, thank you for the 10. Muddy Paws is always here and supporting, and says, I never knew that detectives don't determine what crime scene experts collect. That makes much, much more sense than what they depict on TV. Thanks for all that you do, and the boys in blue do. Thank you, Muddy Paws. Thank you. Always learning with Ed Wallace, and that's what this is about. And we have attorney Melanie Little on to give us a little bit of play-by-play for the next segment that we're going to go into. Kamala, thank you for the $10. Question mark. I just can't get over because it was snowing, blizzard conditions. They couldn't properly investigate. If tried again, defense needs to show how it's properly done. Not enough time for closing. Love, Melanie. Yeah, not enough time. Ed, people have asked me on the website if the defense if a second trial kicks off, asked you to come on and help them out. Would you take on that case, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I could help them out in, tell them, protocols and procedures and stuff. But given what we do here, I don't think I would. I don't think they would want me to get on the stand. What do you think, Melanie?
I mean, I think all help is welcome. There are some other, and there's another YouTuber called Microdots who was making these amazing 3D recreation videos on YouTube, and he stepped in to help the team, and he created some stuff that they showed at the trial as exhibits. So Dr. Marie Russell, who was the dog bite expert, who had something like 40 or more years experience as an ER doctor and a medical examiner and had written papers on dog bites, contacted the defense herself of her own volition and said, I would love to come and testify. I can help. I think I can help.
Actually, she went through an intermediary, which was in the Los Angeles Los Angeles prosecutor's office.
Yeah.
But you know, given that I'm on a YouTube channel and I'm talking about this case all the time, there's just so much information out there that I don't think a defense attorney would want me to testify. But I can, behind the scenes, I can be their forensic expert, and I can feed them questions, and I can tell them proper protocols and procedures. I don't have to testify.
Look it up, Melanie. Let's play this next piece.
Hired by the defense.
Oh my God. WCVB local station, David, over in Denham. He's reporting outside the courthouse. Let's take a listen to this because we're going to segue in, and this is going to be now the Melanie Little show on the second half, folks. So let's listen in.
Good afternoon, Antoinette. Here are the documents, the affidavits, and the motions to dismiss that were filed by Karen Reid's attorneys this morning here at the Norfolk Superior Courthouse. Now, one of her attorneys, Alan Jackson, he says he was contacted by one of the 12 jurors the day after the judge declared a hung jury and a mistrial in this case. Now, Jackson says that juror told him that all 12 had agreed that Reid was not guilty of second-degree murder in the death of Officer John Okeefe and not guilty of leaving the scene and causing a death. He says they were reportedly deadlocked on the charge of manslaughter. Now, meanwhile, another defense attorney, David Yedetti, he says he has heard from people who know some of the jurors. And he says one of those intermediaries told him that the jury was indeed deadlocked on that manslaughter charge and deadlocked by a vote of 4 noes and 8 yeses. The district attorney's office has already said it plans to retry Karen Reid, but has not yet said if it will pursue the same charges. A hearing on how to prepare for that second trial is scheduled to take place here at the courthouse exactly 2 weeks from today.
July 22nd, pretty big day, I would say, Melanie. I know you got that on your calendar.
It's only 2 weeks away. Wow, where is the summer going?
Without getting ahead of myself, what do you expect to happen on July 22nd, Melanie?
Well, it depends on what the judge does with this motion. She will either convert that July 22nd date into a date to hear this motion that was made to dismiss and or for further inquiry into the jury, the 3 jurors that came forward, or the 1 juror that came forward and the 2 that came through intermediaries, or there will be a conference where she will pick a date for a hearing on that if she decides to go that way, and or decide on a trial date. But so far, the Commonwealth is hell-bent on picking a trial date and retrying this case. Even after what transpired today, we don't know. They said they're looking at the motion. They're going to decide what they're going to do. So we don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, and
still up in the air.
If you got to rely, Ed, on this judge, Canoni, you never know what's going to happen from her. And I got to say, Melanie, you were very complimentary of her. You said when you were in the courtroom, she didn't give off that bitchy attitude. You didn't say that, but that was what I was taking from it. You said she was much more fair. I think those are some of the words you used.
A friendlier vibe in person than she appeared on television, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because Mark Betterow and I were sitting in the courtroom. I don't know, but she seemed, she comes across differently on television than her energy was much better in person. Is really what I gleaned from it. She wasn't as harsh, but maybe it was just the day, just that day.
Well, just when you thought this case couldn't get any more bizarre, we have what hit us today, right? I mean, it is crazy. It's like, wait a minute. Usually, because I've seen cases where the juries acquit on several of the charges, but are hung on the others.
Right.
And that information usually comes out to the judge that, so, and then, it was up to her. It was within her purview to ask the juries, have you come to a conclusion on any of the charges? And what happened to the form? Right? They fought over that form, and each one of those counts was supposed to have a guilty or not guilty checkbox.
They did amend the form. So the form was amended. There were 3 separate slips, technically. There were 3 different pages. First one was for second-degree murder, guilty or not guilty. Second one was for vehicular manslaughter under the influence, with a bunch of lesser includeds underneath it. And the issue was that it didn't have not guilty boxes on those. They amended that form after
There was an
argument
from the defense
He
on
was
that,
shut
right?
down. Alan Jackson argued
Shut
for
down.
that.
Yep.
She said, that's not the way we did. This is the way we do it in Massachusetts. And he said, respectfully, I don't care how you do it in Massachusetts. And then she looked at Yanati and said, you practice here. You know that's how we do it in Massachusetts. And he said, actually, no, I've never seen this before. So she went, she had a little timeout. She came back, she changed her mind. She reversed herself. They did change the verdict slip. And then the third sheet was on the leaving the scene of an accident causing personal injury or death. And they acquitted on that charge as well. So what happened was, if you want me to discuss what happened with the motion,
Yes.
defense filed a motion to dismiss today. And in their motion to dismiss, they said that one juror came to Alan Jackson because here's what happened. The day that the jury deadlocked, and that's why there was a mistrial, because the jury deadlocked. They could not agree. When Mark Betterow and I were watching the verdict, we said, okay. And she said, I'm going to declare a mistrial. And then we're waiting. Okay, well, did they acquit on any of the charges? Is there an acquittal of anything? And she kind of just blew right past it. And she said to the jury, okay, I'm going to let you go now. You don't have to, you don't have to deliberate anymore. I'm not going to send you back there to deliberate, but I'm going to come back to talk to you privately in a little while. Thank you for, a little thank you, not enough of a thank you. Some judges are really thankful. Like these people dedicated 10 weeks of their life to this case. And then without hearing from any of the attorneys, she just left. So that day or the day after, some person on Twitter started reporting that the split was 10-2 to convict on the murder charges. And everybody ran with it. It spread like wildfire. Mainstream media picked it up. Court TV was reporting on it, that the split was 10-2 to convict on murder. So apparently the jurors got mad about this, that it was being reported incorrectly. One juror contacted Alan Jackson directly and said, hell no, if you want to play your little buzzer.
Yeah, hold on.
Ron.
Oh, hell no.
That's right. Juror A said to Alan Jackson, that's not what happened. In fact, we acquitted 12-0. We were unanimous on acquitting her on the murder charge. And we also were 12-0 on the charge number 3, which was leaving the scene of an accident with personal injury or death. We only deadlocked on count 2. And the split there started at 6-6. And then people started bullying each other, he said, and that he or she, we don't know if it's a he or she. And then eventually it ended with 8 to convict, 4 not to convict. That's the only charge we deadlocked on. And then 2 more jurors came through intermediaries to David Yannetti, who's the local Boston attorney, and said basically the same thing with screenshots of text messages like, we were acquitting on the murder. It was unanimous. We wanted to acquit. So the defense team is now asking the judge to either dismiss those counts or to have a hearing. There's a lot of things that she could do, but certainly in the interest of justice, this needs to be further investigated to see if that's indeed fact.
But where are the forms? Where are the forms? They had to fill out those forms. That's still a part of their duty. Okay. So on the count 1, form should have been checked off, not guilty. On count 3, the form should have been checked off, not guilty. And
we don't
so
know
those. Oh, so
nobody knows where the forms are.
Oh, it's missing.
And it's been reported that there may have been at least 1 or 2 lawyers on the jury and a doctor. So
and a retired cop, I heard too.
Yes.
Is that true to that?
I heard that too.
But Melanie, did you on your live stream today? Because I couldn't listen to it all, but I listened to the meat and potatoes of it when you were reading the actual filings and everything, and I was fascinated by that. I had an earbud in. I was running in and out of my office. But did Mark say anything in regards to how Judge Cannoni just declared that mistrial quickly and dismissed them? The defense didn't even have a chance to stand up and say anything, albeit they could have, right?
Right.
But it seemed like she cut the whole thing quickly, shortly, and said, I'm gonna talk to you privately later. Like something didn't seem right there, Ed.
Okay, but also, why didn't the foreperson in their letter to the judge say we're deadlocked on count 2? We're finished with counts 1 and 3.
Right.
Why didn't they tell the judge that? And why didn't the judge ask?
Yeah.
Are you stuck on all the counts or just Is there a harm in there? Is there some kind of harm that can be done?
Well, again, we don't know what she said to them during her private conversation. We don't know if she went in there to say, hey, listen, you are allowed to talk to the media, but if you do talk to the media, it could affect a retrial. So, guide your actions accordingly. Or she could have gone in there to just thank them profusely and say, you guys can take the donuts home. She might have gone in there, and we don't know what happened. So
but before
we were talking
Melanie,
about this today. Well, we don't know if she went in there and said, did you guys acquit on anything?
No, before that, when they came back in, when they came back in and after the letter and after she read what is it called, the letter that she reads to them,
Rodriguez,
the jury instructions, or the Rodriguez instructions?
Tui Rodriguez, and then she sends them back out to deliberate. So then they send out that last note.
Yep.
She could have turned to the foreperson and said, are right there in open court, are you deadlocked on all the counts, or what?
You could have.
Let's play that. I'm going to play that piece right here. Here we go.
Major breaking news right now in the Karen Reid mistrial. Her defense team just moments ago filing a motion to dismiss 2 of the 3 counts against her, including the charge of second-degree murder and leaving the scene of a deadly crash. So her trial ended last Monday in a mistrial. We reported on it extensively, right? A jury could not reach a unanimous verdict on all 3 counts. But according to the court documents filed today, her lawyers now say they have since heard from 3 jurors that the jury did, in fact, have a unanimous decision to acquit her on those 2 counts. In the filing, they say a retrial on those counts would violate double jeopardy protections. Again, Karen Reid's lawyers just moments ago filing a motion to dismiss 2 of the 3 counts against her, including that most serious count of second-degree murder. We're going to bring you any updates as they come in, but certainly this is massive news happening today in the Karen Reid trial. Now, all of this news is coming down on the same day that the lead investigator in that case could learn his fate.
I thought that we got to hear the judge in that one, but we didn't. My bad. But we all know she did not take the opportunity to do what Ed just said. And we saw they didn't play the audio, but that was when she was reading, okay, thank you for your service. I'm going to declare a mistrial. And then she says that she'll go back and talk to them. And then that was it. It's just crazy.
After reading the filing, I did find it interesting reading some of the cut and paste copied text messages that were going back in these chats, that the jury was intimidated by Higgins' presence in the courtroom.
Brian Albert, actually, that was a typo. Like the person meant Brian Albert.
Right.
Higgins was not in the courtroom. Yeah.
Right. They meant Albert, but they wrote Higgins.
Right.
So they were intimidated by that. And also I found interesting too, there was one text message there said that when they got forced back into deliberations, then there became issues with bullying.
Yeah, after that, Tui Rodriguez, which is like an Allen charge in New York, or they call it a dynamite charge, or the Allen charge, which is like a last, come on, you guys can do it. Go back there and listen to each other. You're the best jury for this. Nobody's going to do it better than you can. Massachusetts is a whole different jurisdiction. We're used to New York, right? We know how things run here. In Massachusetts, they don't even allow readbacks of testimony during the trial. So it's not allowed. There are a lot, she could have pulled the jury. It's not required. They certainly could not, the attorneys could not pull the jury in open court because it was not an acquittal or a conviction. So it was a hung jury. And it's just, people are saying, well, the defense should have stood up and said something. They waived their rights. Well, they didn't know any of this until the next day. So
but
I don't
it was
believe
within the judge's purview to do that. She had, according to Mass state law that I read today, when you compare the federal law in federal court to the Mass law, the judge, not the jury, which the feds seem to rely heavily on the jury's ability to do these things. The judge could have done everything we're talking about before she declared a hung jury.
Yeah. She also didn't show the attorneys the note. The attorneys didn't get to see the note. There's a lot of things that are questionable. But the fact that these jurors came forward, it speaks volumes to how seriously they took this case. And also it makes the judge potentially a witness which may mean that if there is a hearing about this, this judge may have to step aside and it may go to a different judge.
Well, she should have stepped aside from the beginning, but she didn't.
There was a motion to recuse and she would not recuse herself.
She wouldn't budge.
And the papers were good. I mean, there was a lot of questionable things. There were a lot of
it definitely seemed
appearances
like
of perhaps impropriety.
Yeah, but it seemed like to me and to most people who are watching it that Judge Beverly Cannoni was in a rush to get this over with. She seemed like she was. I actually listened to audio of when she did dismiss the jury. She mumbled something like, and the mic was kind of like not muted all the way. She like made like a sigh and said something, and I don't know who she said it to. Yeah, so it seemed like she was just wanting to just walk away from it, and and she rushed to declare that hung jury, I believe. So
people are asking about the new filing today. The judge has sealed or impounded. They say impounded in Massachusetts, which is weird. That's what we do to cars here. But she has sealed the list of jurors because it's supposed to be made public, and she feels that in the interest of safety, right now she's sealing that, and rightly so. I agree with her decision on that for 10 days.
But post trial, they set up a chat room, and they're all chatting with each other.
Sure, they were like having a group text. And then they had a Zoom meeting. One of the jurors had a Zoom meeting with his buddies and talked about it. And that's how some of the information came out. But I think they should have been sequestered during deliberations. They were not.
Right. Let me go to some more of these highlights because I don't want to get too far ahead. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And if you're not subscribed to Melanie Little's channel, she just broke over 60,000 subscribers. So kudos to you and thumbs up. You've only been at this just about a year or so. I know you started last June, right?
Well, it's exactly a year. Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly
So she's at it a year. 60,000. You're doing something right. And again, like I said, when you're successful, you got the lovers and haters, and you have both of them. So
yeah, I'm sure they're watching. I'm sure they're all watching right now.
Listen, we'll never all agree to come to the middle. We'll all agree to disagree, but it's about doing it respectfully. And I say this all the time, not just on these kind of live streams, but on any of the ones that could have like strong opinions on both sides. If you want to express your opinion, do it respectfully. But once you start, disparaging one of my guests or my friends, Melanie happens to be a friend and a guest, the co-host, Ed Wallace, myself, any of my folks in my community, then you're out. You're gone. I weed my garden on a regular basis.
You got to weed.
You
taught me about the weeding and the blocking.
You got to weed. You got to weed today.
Because
everything.
If you tolerate it, and then that just breeds more weeds. You can't have that whole garden full of weeds.
It's metastasizing.
Yeah, exactly. Vicky, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. Megan R sends in $5 and she says, I hope that word travels and people learn from all this education DutyRon and Ed provide about proper police work. And thank you, Melanie, on the attorney side. Melanie is teaching folks every day when she lights up a live stream, whether it's for Karen Reid, Police Officer John Okeefe, any of the cases she covers, she does her homework and she knows what she's talking about. So that's what it's about. Mary Flynn, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. Thank you for the $10 again. Retta, thank you. I appreciate it. Sherry, thank you for becoming a new member. Mama She is back at it again. I do know the difference between the two attorneys, Little.
Oh, no, it wasn't you, honey. It was somebody else in the chat who asked, is Melanie related to the attorney Little in the defense team? No. But
it could get confusing with someone that's not really paying close attention because wait a minute,
it wasn't her.
Attorney, Little attorney. Sherry, thank you for the $10. True Crime Kangaroo sent in some, I believe that's Australian.
She's awesome.
Yep. Hi, guys. Melanie. Melanie, you should intro Sean McDonough to Ron and Ed. I've already had a conversation with him. What a show that would be. Big love to you all from Australia. Free Karen Reid. Sean's one of the good guys. He is a retired FBI agent, and he sees this for what it is. And
he's not afraid to say what he thinks.
Yeah, he's outspoken. I like the guy. He's got a lot of fire.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Is it FBI or DEA?
DEA or FBI? I'm not sure. I might have had it wrong. Thank you.
Both, maybe. Maybe he was DEA in like South America for a long time.
Yes. Hey, I got something that's on my chest. I got to get it off. Okay.
Please do. Tell us.
I love when people try to make excuses out of the bad weather and not following protocols, right? Oh, but it was in a snowstorm, and so that's not a proper excuse for not following protocols. Okay, in fact, it's just the opposite. Okay, there's only two reasons not to deviate. Rather, there's only two reasons to deviate from your protocols. One is life safety, and the other is evidence preservation. Okay, so here in this case, the more it snowed, the more there's a chance to lose the evidence that you were trying to find. Okay, and damn, you'd never use a leaf blower to blow away your evidence. I mean, you know,
I've been looking for you guys for a really long time in this case. I'm like, where is it?
Oh, hell no.
You know, and all these people who keep saying this, I keep hearing this, and I said, well, how do they do it in Alaska? How do they do it in Canada? How do they do it in Norway? How do they do it in Denmark? How do they do it? You know, are you kidding me with this nonsense?
Yeah. And you know what, Melanie, we would have been jumping up and down on this if Ed wasn't outside the country. His internet connection was wonky there. They sometimes limit what you could talk about. We've been on live streams where he's outside the country and all of a sudden he gets cut off because we're talking about something that they don't like. So it was a touchy situation. But I was busting at the seams, and I came on with you a couple of times and expressed my frustration. But I'm not going to do a full blown live stream without my co-host.
I know. I needed like backup from I'm playing whack-a-troll constantly. Remember the whack-a-mole game? It's like whack-a-troll.
I'm just going to step off 1 second.
Okay. I'll play this for Ed.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? Or what you gonna do when they come for you?
I knew he was going to dance.
I love
Anybody
that.
want a solo cup? Here's your little solo cup.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Can we put blood in there, Ed, with snow?
No.
Okay. I would
Can
say
you put a shot of vodka in here? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, fuck no. All right. So I want to go to some of the people in the chat. Hashtag Melanie, hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. Let's get to some questions because we're at the hour mark and I want to try to wrap it up. But Melanie, did we fully explain what happened today with this? I don't think.
Yeah, I think we did. We're going to have to wait to hear the, what the response is from the Commonwealth on this. Are they just going to consent and say, okay, we'll agree to, further explore this? I mean, she could have a hearing, call all the jurors in and question them individually. It probably would not be an open court because we do not want them shown on camera. I think there's some safety issues. It could be in chambers. They could have a hearing on the record. In Massachusetts, here's another weird rule. The attorneys are not allowed to contact the jurors after a trial is over. They have to ask permission from the court. So in the papers, Alan Jackson asked permission to just contact two of the jurors for limited purpose of just, confirming what he was told by this intermediary. So, that's another big difference between New York and Massachusetts, which is weird because, usually the more liberal states, like this is a very liberal, I don't want to make this political at all, but the liberal states have more liberal rules. And in Massachusetts, things are very different, and tighter, stricter, their court procedures, rules, and regulations. So we'll see what happens, but this is kind of explosive that they acquitted, if it's true, that they acquitted on two of the charges, because double jeopardy attaches and they can't retry on all the charges if it's true.
I definitely think that this is an appeals area here, that the judge made reversible error by not polling these people, and now to find out afterwards from the juror that they acquitted them on these two charges. And if they don't do anything about that and allow it to go forward with a new trial with the same charges that she was acquitted on, that dog don't hunt for me.
It can be remedied. She has a chance to, clean it up.
And I worry about her, Judge Cannoni's decision here. I have something tells me that she is not going to be open-minded to this, and she's just going to shut the door. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on this.
That would be
because just that's the vibe I get. And I'd like to go to the chat and ask the chat, do you guys have confidence in Judge Beverly Cannoni that she's going to do the right thing here and have an open mind and listen to this? Put a yes in the chat, put a no in the chat if you don't think she will. I in my gut, I don't want to say it, but I'm saying no, because it just seemed like from the get-go, she was rushing the defense and denying defense motions here all over the place, and was catering to the Commonwealth. That's just my opinion, and people will say differently, but that's how I saw it. And I always say this to people that try to argue with me, and I'm always open to a good argument. But when people tell me, oh, no, you're seeing it wrong. No. Everybody sees things through a different lens. And what I see, and what Ed sees, and what Melanie sees could be different. But it doesn't mean that I have to hate that person, as long as we can have an open conversation like this and talk about it. But I do not have confidence in this judge that she's going to do the right thing and be open to this. I think that she's just going to try to be like, this is ridiculous, and she's going to deny the defense here. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Melanie, your thoughts?
I think that she's going to have to investigate this, at the very least, because this is a huge issue. If it's true, it's huge. And I mean, she's got to do the right thing. She has to. Otherwise, it's immediately appealable. She could be in trouble. I mean, I think she's got to. I mean, based on the papers that we saw today, she has to at least question some of these people.
Mr. Wallace?
Or all of them.
I concur. Doctor.
I hope you guys are right. I hope you guys are both right. But I just got a bad vibe, man. I got a bad vibe about it.
She'd be cutting off her nose to spite her face if she does not have at least a hearing on this to figure out the veracity of what's going on here. Right. And how could she not know? How could she not know that they acquitted on 2 of the 3 charges? Where's that form? I'm still saying it. Where's the form?
Yeah.
Like, it's like the old Wendy's commercial. Where's the beef?
Okay. Where's the beef? Yeah.
There are other attorneys from Massachusetts in the chat who are saying they're not allowed to pull the jury in Massachusetts. Like, the rules are just weird. But again, you would think that they would know that they could fill out the form not guilty on 2 of the forms and say, here, we've decided on these, but we have not decided on this 3rd form, and that's where we're hung. Right. So
yeah, but it was my interpretation of the law that the defense attorney and the prosecutor could not poll the jury,
right?
But the judge could.
And she failed to. If that, in fact, is the case. Jeff Litweiler, our good friend from Wyoming, who sends goodies to us, he sent us sausage and all kinds of stuff in a box.
Nice.
Ed Wallace was dining on that. I tried some. Yes. I shared it with my brother. So thank you.
It was delicious, Jeff. Thank you.
Jeff and Eileen, we are going to come out there to the ranch and hang out with you guys one day soon. He says with the $2 super chat, Ed, Ron, what would the NYPD have done with this mess?
I mean, we would have done a proper investigation. Okay, and now the way we have these things here in New York now. Is the Attorney General's office steps in when it's officer-involved deaths and officer-involved a death in custody or officer-involved shooting. The Attorney General's office steps in and conducts independent investigation.
Yeah,
and we also have a use of force team now too that we never had back when I was on the job.
Yeah. Apparently, Kristen sent me a news clip that Morrissey made a statement tonight. I would love to hear it, but I need it to my email, not on WhatsApp, because I can't play it through here. Mindfluencer, thank you so much for becoming a member. We appreciate all the memberships here and everybody who is subscribed. If you're not yet subscribed, consider subscribing here, hitting the thumbs up. We always appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. Thank you, Leah, for the $10. She said, what was Bev's response today about?
It wasn't really a response. It was just her sealing the list of the jurors' names and identities. So that's what she decided to do. Rightly so.
Yeah, and I don't think she's under any, I don't think she has to respond to this. It'll be done in the court. She's start putting out statements and so forth. She's a judge.
No.
Yeah, no. So that doesn't happen.
But she did file something, and that's what Leah was referring to. There was something filed, right?
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Vicky Thomas, for $2. She says, is it too late to investigate the home he was at? This is for you, Ed. 34 Fairview.
I never believe it. Is it too late? You gotta go look. You gotta go look. If they can establish, probable cause to get a warrant, or they can get consent from the new owner. Get in there, take a look at what happened there.
What would you do? What would you do in there, Ed?
I'd be searching all the walls. I'd be searching all the ceilings. I'd be using an alternate light source, infrared photography. I would be using thermal imaging. I would be using every tool in my arsenal, all the chemical tests, presumptive tests for the presence of blood. Despite the criminal's best efforts, there's always something left behind. Okay, so I'll be looking for all of that blood because there was 3 liters of blood that is missing from our victim here. Where'd it go? Because it definitely wasn't in the snow, and it definitely wasn't on all of his clothes. So where is it? I understand they tore up the basement floor. I get that. But, if there was some blood spatter, not splatter, during an attack, say in the basement, it could have went into walls, it could have went into ceilings, it could have went into other areas that in their efforts to clean things up, they just missed. So I'd be back down there with Blue Star, luminol. I'd be looking for those chunks of concrete. And maybe they're in the brother's pool, who knows? But I'd definitely be try to get that. And then there's the two unknown male DNA on Mr. Okeefe's pants. Okay. Well, now it's time to pull samples from the McAlberts.
Yep.
Okay. And because they never did pull samples for them to eliminate them as the source of that blood.
Nope.
Okay. They never did get any samples from any of the male emergency responders there that may have, touched him and brought him into the ambulance or touched him at the hospital or any of that. That has to be eliminated. Okay. Where'd it come from? And the dog stuff. We need a better dog expert. We need more dog experts. There's no doubt in my mind that those injuries on the arms and on the clothing did not come from being hit by a tail light from a Lexus SUV. A dog bit this individual.
I want to highlight this comment, Ed, because Rise Above says to one of the other chatters at Darcy, wow, thank you. If 2 retired detectives believe a conspiracy of this magnitude is possible, it truly makes me question so much. Let me explain something to everybody that's listening. This isn't about, with Ed and I, looking at the conspiracy factor, although it's there. We are looking at the evidence, the details, and the totality of everything packaged together. We're not just saying, we charge. We are looking at this from a professional standpoint. And Ed, again, I hate to keep touting your stats, Ed, but you have investigated 2,500 plus crime scenes. You processed in the New York City Police Department as a first grade detective 2,500 plus crime scenes. I think you know your shit better than some couch potato that's watching this. And I'm not saying, listen, I'm a couch potato at particular times too, but I'm just saying somebody who does not have the expertise that you have. I listen to what you say, and I listen loud and clear. I listen to Melanie Little when it comes to an attorney's perspective, loud and clear.
To me, this isn't a conspiracy. Okay. Remember the old adage, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. Okay. Now it's not as if I've never seen anything like this in New York. We've had cases where cops did stupid things, maybe not to this level of killing somebody, and then tried to cover it up. Okay. And then a small little cabal of cops got together and tried to cover up some bad behavior. Okay. So it happens from time to time. But just also remember Occam's razor. Okay. The simplest of explanations tends to be the truth. Look at all they had to do and hoops they had to jump through to get to Karen, when there were obvious things that were right there from those videotapes in the bar about a beef that was taking place between our decedent and 2 other members of law enforcement. Okay. Again, what did I tell you? Alcohol, law enforcement, off duty, women, testosterone, bad mix. Bad mix. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then He got goaded to go back to that place, and he was going to confront them about the text to his girlfriends.
Yeah.
Is that so hard to believe?
They never looked at anybody else.
Right.
Proctor had this thing solved within 16 hours. He's telling his buddies, he's texting his buddies from elementary school.
It's the girl.
We're going to pin it on the girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Done. Case closed. He said, isn't the homeowner going to catch some, shit for having this on his front lawn, a dead body? And he goes, nope. He's a Boston cop too.
Yes. And look at all the unreasonable actions by all of these people. Yeah. You got a dead guy on your lawn, right? And you have to look at the 911 call. Okay. Did she say it's John Okeefe? She knows John Okeefe and she loves John O'Keefe, according to
Officer
her testimony.
down?
Yeah.
No?
Did she say we have an off-duty officer, John Okeefe? He's our friend. We love him. He's on our front lawn.
No.
We don't know how he got there.
There's a man passed out in the snow.
Okay.
Send somebody.
And listen, I mean, just look at the totality of the information that we gathered from the testimony and how unreasonable this was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you can't tell me if you looked at this testimony from all the players here that you didn't see people lying.
Right.
There was perjury galore throughout this testimony, not on the defense side, on the prosecution side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at
she says
Ryan Albert. He said he didn't hear a goddamn thing on his front lawn.
Sleeping.
The guy's I think he was a sergeant in Fugitive. There was a whole show about him and his team.
Boston's finest. It was called.
Boston's finest, right? So
Reality.
Ryan Albert claims that Chloe the dog, who barks at everybody, never barked. He didn't bark at his sister-in-law when she come busting in her bedroom with the front door wide open. There's so much bullshit here that it just, like, anybody with common sense is not going to buy it. And if a Boston police officer comes up dead on your front lawn, aren't you going to come outside and say, hey, is there anything I could do to help with this investigation or figure out what happened to my brother in blue? He didn't do that.
The guy that he invited to his house the night before, by the way.
Right. All the cops in Canton knew who lived in that house.
Ed, do you not go to an NYPD brother's funeral if he dies on your front lawn?
Well, first of all, I've never had anybody die on my front lawn. But
I'm asking you a hypothetical, for Christ's sake.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
Yeah. Okay. I'm the asshole.
No.
All right.
Would you or would you not? You'd be at the funeral.
I would go. Yes, I would definitely go.
They didn't go. They didn't go to the wake. They didn't go to the funeral.
But the day before, they drove all the way to New York to go to Jason Rivera's services.
Yeah.
Right.
They're probably drinking for 3 days. Who knows?
Uh-huh.
All right.
He left, he said, because they had no Jameson. That's what Higgins said. I left because they only had beer. I don't drink beer. I drink Jameson. So
He just reminded me of something for you, Ed. Hold on.
Stop breathing down my neck.
I haven't played that one in a long time. But yeah, just so much about this is just wrong. And, people are going to agree to disagree. And no matter what happens, no matter what you're presented with, you're going to have people, you're going to have folks who don't agree. I have queued up I'm not going to play it because it would take too long, but Mr. Jackson cross-examining Trooper Proctor and
good stuff.
What he did. I'm going to link it in the description. You guys have to go and look at it. If we had another hour to do this, because this is about 38 minutes of cross-examination. It was brutal. He did a fantastic job of highlighting all of this trooper's disgusting behavior that he did, and he also wrapped it up in a nice bow and packaged it up perfectly, and he set him up to show the jury that he had a predetermination that Karen Reid and Karen Reid alone killed police officer John Okeefe from hour 16.
Yeah,
and maybe earlier.
And he just totally disregarded the FBI's experts, right? He just, forget that. He totally disregarded the video showing her backing her SUV into John O'Keefe's car,
right? And
where the taillight gets cracked, right? So totally disregard her father saying she showed me. But I loved the Jennifer testimony when she said, that, okay, I drove her car back to John Okeefe's house, and then we got out and we had this long conversation about the cracked taillight outside of the taillight.
In the driveway.
In the driveway. And then her other friend said, enough of this, let's go inside. And then the prosecutor shows the videotape from the ring camera, and none of that happened.
Nope.
He just discredited his whole witness right there.
Yep.
And what does the law say? What does the law say, Melanie? The law says that if you find that testimony, there's one lie in a testimony, you can disregard the whole testimony.
All of it. Yep.
Melanie, I moved you upstairs because I was getting sick of covering it up with the super chat, so I'm going to cover up myself with them. Miss Adventurous sends in a $2 super sticker. Thank you so much for your support. Mark Safe from Lally's. Again, go easy on Auntie Bev. She was tired, shaking my head.
She had to get over the Sagamore Bridge to get down the Cape for the weekend, you know?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Muddy Paws, thank you for being a member for 8 months. The vibe I got from the judge is she was just done. Yeah. I mean, these are, again, these are from what we were talking about just maybe a couple 20 minutes ago. But I agree. I got that vibe that she was just like done with it. And I listened with headphones on to her. I encourage you to go back and listen to her. When the camera goes off of her, when the jury is being excused, she says something weird, and I can't freaking. I hope that I'm encouraging some people like that have like this tech where they can enhance things. But she gives another breathing heavy into the mic. But she says something. She mumbles something, and I couldn't make it out. But I'd be interested.
Or like the testimony of the trooper, just kill me.
Yeah, just kill me. Right. How about the fact that during Proctor's text messages, there's evidence that after Officer Don O'Keefe's body was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, Proctor and Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert, who's a Canton cop, go to the Cape, get hammered, and Kevin Albert texts Proctor the next day and says, dude, where's my gun? Did you find my gun?
In my car.
And he's like, no, but I found your badge in my patrol car, but he couldn't find his gun. So he's out drinking with Brian Albert's brother to the point where the guy loses his gun and his badge.
Did you find it in my car?
During his testimony? Yeah. It's crazy.
Last time I checked, driving while intoxicated is a crime. And no police officers or their families or anybody should be doing that. Ed, go ahead.
And driving your cruiser when intoxicated is also a no-no.
Yeah.
Or drinking with the recipient witness's brother, maybe. I don't know, that you're investigating,
CBC sends in a $5 super chat and says, court reporters often end up with exhibits. Have they checked? ? P.S. I read back during the deliberations. Why didn't all offer that? I mean, I don't know about this stuff. Melanie?
Oh, court reporters often end up with the exhibit. Have they checked? You mean looking for the verdict slips? I don't know. You've read back during deliberations. Are you a Massachusetts court reporter? Because it's at the discretion of the judge, and the judge clearly said when she charged the jury before the case started and before they got the case to deliberate, there will be no transcripts. Like, don't even ask. So they don't. New York, we have readbacks. It's a thing. But here, they rely on jurors' memories and notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it was like, when the witnesses were being evasive and, I don't remember the question. Can you say it again? And I was like, I'm saying to myself, well, in New York, they would have had it just read. Yeah, they would have just had it read back. And they can't do that here. Man, some silly rules up there, boy.
Cost cutting measures. Here's the thing: they got rid of regular stenographers with the machine, and this woman is talking.
Yeah, the whole time. Thanks.
What happens when you cut costs? Woman's facing life in prison for a murder, but no readbacks. Rely on your memory for kids.
Adam Drives Helen, thank you for the $5. YouTube's taking all my money today. Not mad about it. Love Dutyron's and Ed and Auntie Mel is a gem. OB is my daddy. Hashtag.
Oh, Oblivious Benson.
Yay,
OB.
Bingo, Yahtzee.
She's killing it. She's doing lives now.
All night long. I love it. I in the morning.
I can't say who's your daddy.
I start shaving and getting ready for work, and I turn on YouTube, and she's on from 3-4 o'clock our time. Emily, thank you for the $2 super chat. She says, wouldn't a retrial be considered double jeopardy? If these findings are in fact true, absolutely. Yeah.
For those 2 counts that she was
Right.
acquitted on.
Yeah,
Okay.
they can go after for the manslaughter, right? It was manslaughter
Right.
that they were split on, or 8-4. Yeah, crazy. Nico66, thank you for the $5 super chat. She said, he or she says, can the DA and Massachusetts State Police use Proctor's new status to poke holes in the mess made and reconstruct the scene to better accommodate the expert's testimony? Ed?
Not the DA and the MSP. I don't see that happening, but I can see the defense taking full advantage of this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's why they didn't suspend him during the trial, because they would have been able to use it, right?
Possibly. I'm just so angry that the supervisors and all the folks in that squad were okay with that. That leads me to believe that there's a possibility that those are bad eggs as well, right? And I say that with strong convictions, because if you're hearting someone, calling someone a retard and wishing death upon them, or wishing them to commit suicide, you can't be a good person. Those are the very things that we try to help people not to do, not encourage it, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what makes Trooper Proctor a real scumbag, vile person. And it's somebody who I would never want to be associated with. And I'm embarrassed for the folks who wear the shield, for all lines of law enforcement across the country, because of this asshole. He's tarnished all the good. The guys like Ed and myself that have gone out there and risked our lives for the public safety. These scumbags really make it look bad for all of us. All right, CBC sends in another $2 and says, I freaking love your channel, Melanie.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Elizabeth, go ahead, Ed.
Do they not have official misconduct charges in Mass? Is that another charge that they don't have?
Yeah, well, hopefully IAB brings charges forward for this guy. Elizabeth, thank you for the 10. Are you detectives, Lieutenant Commander
Vernon Gebeth proteges? Now, I know Vernon very well, and we work for God, just as Vernon says. Yes, I love Vernon, but he. Never mind. I'll just leave that out.
Leave it alone.
You can smell him coming. He wears so much cologne.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, I'm almost not done. There's so much. Thank you to everyone who's given super chats. I know I couldn't get to them all because there's a whole big long list of it. I don't want to hold everybody here. Melanie, you did almost 3.5 hours or 4 hours today with
whatever it takes, Ron. Yeah, I think we did 3 hours today.
I love it. I love it because, and I'm going to link that live stream in the description. I know like 100,000 of you's already gone over and watched it. 100,000 more should go and watch it. She broke it down line by line. Melanie read with her expertise line by line of all of the documents from today, and she took her time and he went over it. He's a criminal defense attorney and he knows his shit. So that was a great live stream. I'm going to try to watch it, the replay tomorrow. But any final words from you, Melanie, and then I'll go to Ed.
Just when you thought it was over, it's not over. Like every day is a new day in this trial. It's like Groundhog Day, and it just keeps going and going and going, like the Energizer Bunny. And every day is a new day, and things are just breaking all the time. So stay tuned, folks, because it ain't over till it's over.
Ain't over till the fat lady sings. I don't even like that terminology, but yeah, it's not over till it's over. Ed?
Red Solo Cup.
Oh no.
Okay, no.
You had to do it.
Yeah, this case is just crazy from the beginning to the end. Again, just folks, look at things through the lens of reasonableness and ask yourself, is that statement reasonable? Are those actions reasonable? And if you can truly say yes or no, okay, and your conviction, and you're being objective. That's the key thing too. You always have to have your objectivity. Okay, if you're being objective and you're asked this question, is that statement reasonable? Are those actions reasonable? Okay, does that injury on the arm look like it was made by the lens of Alexis or a dog? Okay, go through it like that and keep asking yourself, is that reasonable? Is that reasonable? Does this make sense? Okay. There's so much here that does not add up to the prosecution's theory. It just doesn't add up. And then when you have these two independent experts come here and say, can't be done by a car. Not like this.
Right.
And you have your own medical examiner's office saying copy, all right, and can't be done like this, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, that says volumes to me as to where we're at with this case. And it just, again, reasonable doubt is all over this case.
100%. And Melanie, you brought on a dog bite expert.
I did.
Oh
Yes.
my God. That guy was a home run. Thank you for reaching out to him. I mean,
Yeah, he's great.
You know, what you did for your community in getting that guy on, and then he did the follow-up video. That speaks volumes. This is a guy who knows his stuff.
He's got almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube. He's a canine dog trainer. His dad trained canine dog. His grandfather, like he's been doing this his whole life.
Yeah.
His name is Garrett Wing. American Standard Canine is his
How'd you find
YouTube
him?
channel. How did I find him?
Yeah.
So he said, oh, Team Brittany knew him, was like a follower. She's one of my mods. And she said, you got to check this guy out because he has training videos of specific German Shepherd bites, and check out his videos. I wrote him an email and said, would you come on my show? And I didn't even tell him what it was about. Send him a picture of the arm.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you think about this? He said, oh, dog attack.
Awesome.
I said, you want to come on my show? He said, sure. You know anything about the case?
That was perfect.
Yeah.
That was perfect because I watched that entire show, and then I watched what he did, and like that to me was so educational. And if people were paying attention to that and that alone, they would know that those marks on police officer John Okeefe's arm were not that of a car versus a human being. You know.
Yeah.
Not just the arm. Remember, it had to go through that clothing.
Yeah.
It had to go through that sweatshirt, the hoodie.
And did you see the pictures of the hoodie? There's puncture wound. There's puncture marks on the outside of the arm. Like, what are we doing here?
And pork and pork DNA?
Yeah.
Pig DNA?
Pig DNA, but no dog DNA. But really, they just swabbed the clothing with one
swab, and they did a combination swab. That's right.
Along with the phones, the dog disappeared. That's so convenient, right?
They were all rehomed. They're all rehomed.
And a
Proctor just got
sale
rehomed too.
That's
we
right.
Our house in 2021, so we were already looking into selling the house. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All
For
that
low
testimony
value.
was so the whole defense case, the whole prosecution's case. I say defense because it felt like a defense case. All they did for the first 60 witnesses, we didn't know how John Okeefe died even until like the 61st witness. The entire first 60 witnesses were brought on for the sole purpose of saying the McCabe's and the Alberts didn't do it.
Yeah.
What did that
Right?
tell you?
Because there was nothing. There were days of trial where they never mentioned Karen Reid's name. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, and I love the defense. I love the witnesses saying the defendant, your client, your defendant.
That's her right there.
Yeah, and
Burn
that's
the
right.
witch.
That's right. Legal-minded friends, Karen.
Yes.
Forensics doesn't lie. People do.
There you go.
We call those guys the crash daddies, the guys that came on the accident reconstructionists, that had the PhDs, the biomechanical engineers, the crash daddies. That's what they said. Physics doesn't lie. They're like, well, you didn't have the taillight pieces. He's like, didn't need them. Physics doesn't lie. He wasn't hit by a car. It wouldn't have made a difference in my opinion.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat said, and this is a good question. It comes from Nikki McCormick, good old Irish gal. What if the jury? Oh wait, I got it wrong. Sorry, Nikki. I was highlighting your comment. Carol, it comes from Carol Ingram. You think someone will break and tell the truth? I don't think so.
With regard to what happened in that house?
Well,
or maybe that might have happened in that house, the alternate theory?
That's the way the feds work, right? They go after the low-hanging fruit, the weak and vulnerable member of the conspiracy, and then they break that person and they roll. Okay.
So I got to give credit to, I got to highlight Nikki McCormick's message. What if the jury didn't fill the form out at all?
You know, the jury instructions were so confusing. I mean, I have a law degree and 30 years as a practicing trial lawyer in New York, and I couldn't understand those jury instructions or the way the verdict slips read. You think, I mean, who knows? There's so much fakaktiness here going on that it was the Michigas. There you go.
Okay, but then wouldn't that be also grounds for an appeal? right? Aren't they
Oh, yeah.
obligated to fill out that form? How is their job done if that form isn't filled out?
You would infer that they were deadlocked on everything if they didn't fill it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to highlight these super chats because I feel bad. If there's any questions in them, I will ask them, but there's all of them are complimentary. Thank you for the super chats, Gina and Sarah. Vicky, thank you so much. I love you, Ed. That has really been eating go odds me. Vicky loves you, Ed. Just so you know.
Thank you, Vicky. Love you back.
Leah is again throwing some super chats at this. Why wasn't Karen Reid's DNA on him or unknown female DNA after laying on him, trying to save his life? Never understood this whole investigation. Shaking my head. That's good. That's actually a valid point. Ed, that's right up your alley. Why?
Right.
If she threw herself on him and turned him over or whatever she did with trying to do life-saving measures before authorities got there, why? That's a good question, Leah. Thank you.
And you know the answer to that? It's just like that cell phone being underneath the body and how it got there. It just did. You would think that female's DNA would be on that body, right?
Mm-hmm.
If everything she said she did was in fact done, then it should still be there.
Right. When they say there were, 2 unknown DNA contributors to like the stain, does that mean they're talking about the blood stain, let's say, on the shirt? And some of those stains had 3 unknown contributors. Does that mean unknown contributors of blood? Like there were 3 other people's blood in the blood stain, or
there were 3
touch
other
DNA, or
there were 3 other genetic profiles in there mixed. So it doesn't tell you if it's blood. It doesn't tell you if it's blood.
Because the stains on the clothing were blood down the front of his shirt.
Right.
So
and
it was
you would
just
expect
so
that his DNA
confusing.
would be there just from wearing the shirt. But in addition to
Right.
having his blood, people don't realize this. And I think we had Dr. McCormick on who told us there's really not that much DNA in blood.
Huh. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I heard that. Dr. Dunlap sends a super chat and says, Melanie, if the judge doesn't investigate, can this go to a higher court? ? Will she be investigated if that happens? Thank you.
She won't be investigated unless there's any, criminal conduct, which I don't see here. I don't see her committing any crimes, or there's no bribery or anything like that. But if she does refuse to give them a hearing, it's immediately appealable for sure. Go up to the higher court.
We'll see. Sharon creates. Thank you for always being here. She's raging out right now. So
Oh, that's my Rage Crochet Club. She's the president.
she's raging. I love it. Paul O'Keefe's crotch is in the building, sending super chats. He's watching. Gina Gomez, keep up the good work. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. Lorraine sends in a $5 super chat. It's so bizarre that 8 jurors voted guilty on charge 2, indicating that they believe she hit him with her car. Trust Trooper Proctor over cars, guys.
Trooper Paul. Yeah, that guy was that Joe Paul, that poor guy. He was the fall guy in that whole thing. Yeah. How'd it get there? The phone, just did. He did a pirouette. The car hit his arm, the tail had exploded. He did a pirouette, smacked his head on the curb, and he was thrown 30 feet into the lawn. I mean, it was laughable. Ed, did you laugh when you listened to his testimony? Like, it was just so.
Yes, it was bizarre.
Yeah.
What? Did he really just say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, crazy.
And that, it's just a lot of things were unbelievable in this trial. And I'm like, I was taking copious notes, in a pad. And I said, what? Oh, I got to look that up. I said, no, I can't. Oh my God. I love the chat here. The Cannon guy.
Oh, that's what we call. Oh, here's somebody in the chat. Here's a troll. Melanie Little, DutyRon. Why? She's absolutely terrible. I'm absolutely terrible. Sorry, Letty.
Wow.
Sorry. Here they are. Trolls are out. See, they just can't. Like, it's always with the personal attacks. I'm lying. I'm lying because I've read every single court document, watched the trial testimony like a person with common sense. But hey, makes me terrible.
I think I found it. Bye, Letty. So that's a block immediately. Take your nasty comments and go somewhere else.
So ridiculous.
We practice CPR here, folks. Courtesy, professionalism, and respect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. CPR all the way. Love you guys as always. Is she involved with the lawyers? Remember there was that crazy thing that was circulating on Twitter.
Yeah.
Karen Reid was involved with the lawyers.
It was debunked. That was like a photo that they used CapCut to create, and they superimposed Alan Jackson's face on top of another guy and ran with it.
Yeah. A couple of last ones.
Letty is Elizabeth Proctor. Well, that makes sense. Hey, Lizzie Proctor, what's up? Standing by your man still? Good on you.
Just Perplexed sent in a $5 super chat. The voice writer has the ability to do playbacks. I know it's Massachusetts rule, but playbacks are absolutely possible with the digital CRT reporting.
Yeah, I think we were talking about reading questions back, and I guess maybe it would take a long time, so they just don't ask. They usually, the attorneys in this case anyway, were repeating the questions, which is sometimes hard because you forget what you ask.
That's a funny one. Money pause, $5. This is what happens when you legalize weed in a state. Just kidding. Nick, thank you. Appreciate that. Here's Coffee with Karen. I'm concerned for Karen. Jury did not believe Dr. Russell or Dr. Wolf's, Rensselaer's, the federal witnesses. I think that they did believe. I mean, I value your side and your thoughts, but I think that was Ed and Melanie. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was really the nails in the coffin in the prosecution's case. That was the icing on the cake. I feel that really sealed the deal.
Let me comment on this too about paid forensic experts. Okay, there's been a lot of talk and about how people say paid forensic experts will testify in every way, shape, or form of the person that is paying them or the team that is paying them. That is, yes, I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. Okay, and I call those people that do this forensic whores. Okay, but these doctors are not forensic whores. Right? They have integrity. Okay, they have ethics. They are not going to put their hard-earned degree and their reputation on the line because they have no vested interest in the outcome of this case. Okay, so yes, they got paid to do that work by the FBI, right. a third party, and that should tell you volumes about why is the FBI hiring a crash reconstruction expert and pathologists and all of these experts involved in a state case. Why are they doing that? Why are they doing this independent of the prosecutor and the investigators, the Mass State Police? Why are they doing this? Okay, and essentially, is it reasonable? Well, because they saw something and it stunk to them, and they wanted the truth of the matter.
Listen, Lieutenant Pete Pranzo's birthday is tomorrow, and we're coming up almost on his birthday. So happy 29th birthday, Lieutenant
Happy
Pete Pranzo.
birthday.
Yes, happy birthday to you, my brother in blue, Lieutenant Pete. Wishing you many, many more happy and healthy ones. I wish I was in your neighborhood to give you a hug and wish you a happy one, but we're doing it right here in front of the audience. So happy birthday, Lieutenant Pete. I know Rochelle is going to take good care of you tomorrow. So happy birthday. All right, let's wrap it up. I want to thank Melanie Little for taking out the time. And don't worry, Melanie, I'm going to go back and review the chat, and I'm going to take care of all the garbage.
It's okay. I just like to call them out when they do it. Like, come on, you want attention? Like, do you need attention that badly?
Your extra eyes for me.
Doesn't hurt my feelings anymore.
Yeah, it's too bad. Your extra eyes for me, and I appreciate that. Ed, thank you for taking out almost 2 hours. We don't usually do 2, and I knew that this was going to happen. We were going to do a little bit more. Just go and check out Melanie Little's channel, because I think you did a live the day before yesterday on this case that everyone.
Andrew Birchmore.
Yes. So I was just trying to find the chat. People saying, yeah, here it is. New Jersey.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's got a lot of the same players in it. A lot of the same investigators. Canton PD investigated it. They ruled it a suicide, but she was pregnant with a cop's baby. She had been a member of the Explorers program. Do you know what that is? The Explorers program?
Yes.
So they started grooming her when she was 15.
Nephew
her virginity. Yeah. It's crazy. And there's twins involved, Ed. So
tell us. But what about that? What about the twins are involved, but what about that sketchy video of the officer coming into the apartment building with the mask and the hoodie, and he was wearing rubber gloves?
They say he's the father of the baby, but that's my question for you. If they test the fetal tissue, because they never did that, of course, why would they? Because it was a suicide. She hung a scarf around a doorknob and was sitting on the floor when they came in. If they tested the fetal tissue and he's got an identical twin brother. Would they be able to discern which twin is the father, if indeed that was true? Because identical twins, I have identical twins.
Have
identical
twins have identical DNA.
Oh,
What they
maybe
don't
should
have
go into
identical is fingerprints. But in Germany, there's been some recent research where they've identified, I believe it's a protein chain that can discern between identical twins via this protein chain. And so if that is in fact the case, I know they haven't validated that science yet to be brought into a criminal court, but they're working on it. And if that is the case, maybe this would be another good test case on the fetal tissue.
Yeah.
So
well, maybe we'll have to look at this case, Ed. When you got time, we'll take a look at it.
No, I've been reading up on it. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
I've been watching.
I got whatever you need. I got everything.
I've been watching videos and reading up on it, and it seems like another one of these. What?
The Canton PD solved that one in 4 hours. So they're getting better.
That's frightening. That's frightening. I never want to go to Canton because of what I saw with the police department here. Because if you become a victim of a crime, you're not going to get a good investigation. So for me, I stay far away from Canton for that reason and that reason alone. And that's just my personal. I know.
Well, after saying this, you better stay away from there.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
I wouldn't go there. You want to get caught with a car stop in that county. But hey, something is amiss there because the feds are all over these. The U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI is investigating this town. The prosecutors are denying that they're being investigated, but something tells me that they are being investigated.
Right.
All right. So, as you said earlier today, and I love it. You got to get what do you call those things that you have? Those sayings like, pardon my French. What do you call them? The
little memes. The
memes. Voice memes. Are they called voice memes?
Pardon you got to French.
Yeah. You got to get one with a British accent and saying there's fuckery afoot here, right? I love it when the Brits say that, right? And then you got to get another one with an Irish accent and saying, for fuck's sake, you dumb shite.
I'll get it. That's the next thing I want to do. Yeah. So I mean, I don't say that to be a shit stirrer. I just say it because it's frightening to see that that's what goes on in this town, and we learn that everybody's arrogant. A lot of folks in there are look at what Trooper Proctor did to a news reporter. He told her, "Get the fuck off my front lawn." That's his exact words.
She wasn't even on the lawn.
She was being respectful. She was in the street, and the wife said the same thing. And then the wife said, "I support my husband." You support your husband calling women the C word. I would have said it if Melanie wasn't here, but I'm not going to say it with Melanie here.
Because I'll put earmuffs on.
Okay. Well, everybody knows what he said. He called her the C word, and he also wished death onto her. So the bottom line is that the Trooper Proctor is a resident of Canton. He lives in Canton, and he felt that strongly that he could tell a reporter to get the fuck off my front lawn. Like, come on, give me a break. I mean, this guy should have just kept his mouth shut and went in his house and not said anything. But that's how bold he is. He thinks that he is not touchable. He's part of the untouchables. Yeah. So, listen, I want to thank you guys for being here in the chat. Thank you to the moderators, the replay viewers, and all the folks who give us positive engagement. We love to answer the questions. So leave us a question down below in the comment section. And if you don't have something nice to say, just don't say it at all. If you have something that you want to discuss with us in a respectful manner, Ed loves to engage, and so do I, with folks in the comment section. So that's how we continue the conversation after these live streams. Ed, I think we're up over 330,000 subscribers.
Yay!
Unbelievable. We just keep creeping up there. It's slowed down considerably, but heck, the growth spurt from December to now is just like, that's nothing I've ever seen before with us. So
yeah, people are on vacation now. It's summertime. It'll pick up again.
But for those of you who are new that don't know Melanie Little, or that you're part of this community and for some godforsaken reason you don't know about her, I'll link her channel in the description. Attorney Melanie Little, top-notch class act, and I appreciate.
I'm really not terrible.
No,
who's the whack job now, folks? Ask yourself that. Who's the whack job now?
Acquitted 2 counts. 2 counts acquitted.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. Princess Mitch is saying best channel. She's here.
I love her.
Hot, sunny Arizona. Thank you, Princess Mitch and Rob, her husband. ATS News, a great friend and moderator of this channel. She's got a great channel. Go over and check out her stuff. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Amber. We're going to say goodnight. We're going to follow this closely. We're going to see what develops. July 22nd is the next court date. You know, my good friend right here, Melanie Little, is going to be covering it. Go and check her out and check out her coverage. I'm always at work when these things go on, so it's tough for me and Ed to cover it. But we'll see you guys on the next one. Ed, what do this is part of the show where he has fun now. So,
this was very fun. Wasn't this fun? Didn't everybody in the chat have fun?
We had the English, we had the Irish, so the Scots had to jump in with their ball bag.
You're fucking crazy.
Good gravy. Another super chat comes in at the wire. DIY Stu says Melanie brought me here. Subscribed. Thank you for covering the subject. What a whack job.
A lot of whack jobs out there in DIY, Stu, but
yeah, thank you, Stu. Thank you for being here. Melanie, I always appreciate you sending your people over, and we cross-pollinate, right? We do that cross-pollination thing. So it's always great to have you on as a guest. And Ed and I, we are always ready to come on whenever you need to talk about forensics and police stuff.
Wait.
Well,
it's a good collab. It's a good collab.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Ed, I know you always have something to say at the end of these things. I'll give you the floor. And since Melanie already gave her last.
Yes. All right, folks. Thanks for being here and sticking with us for 2 hours. You know, over 3,500 of you stuck around here for the shenanigans that went on today. You know, you can get your true crime fix anywhere out there on the internet, but thanks for coming here for us at DutyRon. And it's always a pleasure. Please keep spreading the word. Thanks for your support, and always be safe, be prepared, and watch your six.
Victim here, Police Officer John Okeefe, and also justice for Karen Reid, who is, in our opinion, wrongfully accused in this case. So I want to say strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the Okeefe family, even though some of you guys may have, you know, not great feelings towards them and what they say. I still, as a police officer and a professional, Ed and I went to people's homes and made notifications that their loved ones were either murdered, killed themselves, or whatever the case, killed in a car crash. It's not something that you want to do, but I send that family all my strength, prayers, and positive vibes. And I'm hoping that we get to the bottom of this thing and figure out what truly happened to Police Officer John Okeefe, because at this point right now, we do not know. We do have an idea of what happened, but it's not been proven in a court of law, and we can't prove these things out in the public. It's got to be proven in the courtroom. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, and stand by for a message from the cop team. Hey, by the way, Ed, Kristen corrected the cop team, but I don't have the copy of it yet. But on the next one,
what do you think? We can turn these into earrings?
Oh my God!
Somebody did that. Somebody actually did do
Are you
that.
kidding me? Wow.
That's great. He's getting punchy now.
Good night to everybody from New York and New Jersey. Thank you, Melanie. We love you.
Good night.
Guys.
Thank you.